Today we have a special guest on the show, Mr. Thomas Fine, CEO of Armstrong Painting, Roofing, and Windows. They're a 50-plus-year-old service company located in the Bay Area, California. Thomas is the second generation in the business that his father started. We had a great talk about what it takes to stay in business for 50-plus years, why pivoting with the times and letting go of your ego is important, and a ton of other great tips that can help you run a more successful service company. So let's welcome Thomas to the show and get to the good stuff.
Welcome to the Battle Plan Marketing Podcast for Contractors. Get actionable advice and tactics on how to grow your home service company. Plus interviews with industry experts dropping value bombs in marketing, sales, and operations. And now let's power up your home service biz with your host, Mark Ambrose of Battle Plan Marketing.
All right. Welcome to the show, Thomas. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Let's dive right in. So tell us what you're doing now, who you do it for, where you do it, and how your company helps them.
Yeah, so we're a painting, roofing, window company. We're based in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we have been for 55 years now, just this last October. The way that we look at it, we provide improvements for the envelope, the exterior of a home with our painting, roofing, and window products.
Okay. That's amazing. 55 years. How long have you been with the company?
Well, it's the family business, so I was essentially born at the office.
Nice.
My father, I was from his second marriage. He was born in 1926, if you can believe it. I just a few days ago turned 41. Wow. So he had me when he was a bit older. He founded the company, and my brother, half brother, who I am still very close with, he ran the company for 25 years. And then just 4 years ago, I think it's 5 years ago, I took over as the CEO. And then 4 years ago, I officially bought out the company. So I became owner and CEO 4 years ago.
Wow. Congratulations. That's great. I love hearing family businesses that successfully pass to the next generation.
Yeah, the statistics, it's pretty grim. Typically, the third generation, the chances of surviving is little to none.
It is.
Part of it is, and I give a lot of credit to my brother, he actually said, Tom, I've actually got to make it harder for you, not easier for you. I said, can I have more money? He goes, go out and sell a job. Can I have a promotion? He goes, what's a promotion? So it was learning from the ground up, but really
nice.
Ultimately learning to knock on a door, learning to sit at the kitchen table with the homeowner and closing a deal. I realized at a certain point, although I didn't do it, once you have the ability to sell, you can go anywhere and do it with anywhere.
You can work in any industry.
Absolutely.
Everything has to be sold and marketed.
That's
fantastic. And so you also were in there getting your hands dirty at the lower levels of the company. Not a good phrase, sorry.
Well, no, the most important levels of the company, but the stuff where you get your hands dirty, and that's a fact. Had to learn everything. And ultimately, for years, I also moonlit as a professional musician. So I had this creative world that I was completely obsessed with and living in. That moved over into this passion for design. And then I saw the connection. It all was coming back to the company. And I saw this connection with marketing and design. When I went to somebody's website, a company maybe that our company Armstrong was going to work with, and they had a bad website, they don't care. That's such a simple indication of the overall, what they really care. And I get it. A lot of people don't understand design. Well, then farm it out or, take the time. That messaging is so important, even just that first initial contact. So I was able to come in and apply my creative mind to the family business. And that's when I'm like, this works for me. I can do what I want to do in the world here in the family business.
You can enjoy your life working within that business.
Yeah.
Using the talents and things that you like doing.
Exactly.
And your website is awesome. So I don't know if you had anything to do with that. I'm sure you had something to do with it.
Every detail of that stuff. It's a bit outdated too, but it was even ahead of its time when I think we just revamped that 4 years ago, but it's even time probably that we even take it to the next level.
Oh, it's really well done.
Thank you.
Like the design, the ease of navigation, the content, the simplicity. It's hard to be simple. So congrats on being
Thank you.
So you started or your father started in the painting world and then expanded
Well,
into what was next, roofing or windows or
well,
both at the
it's probably worth mentioning. My father started in the aluminum siding world. So he
Oh,
was
I
from
used to do that.
he's East Coast. He's from Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, door to door. And again, he was born in 26. So he was doing this in the heyday of Alcoa, aluminum siding, because this people from the industry are likely going to hear this rather than I wouldn't market the fact that he was an aluminum salesperson because there's a connotation with that, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
nonetheless, that's the world he came up. And then he came out, started a contractor supply store. But then he goes, I'm going to actually do the installation part of it. It was very interesting because he and his friends that came out from the East Coast, they all kept thinking the siding, aluminum siding. So I don't know if you're familiar with a company called Texcoat USA. So it's a coating company. It's an industrial coating company. They do bridges, hospitals. They did the NASA buildings. So it's a thicker material that's spray applied. And it's
Okay.
like a paint. It's a thicker paint. And his friend founded that company. Now it's a $500 million company,
Is
billion
it
dollar
like a
company.
UV blocking paint?
It actually, the military works with it because it has, yes, a UV blocking and it's a
Yeah,
coating system that can reduce, it adds insulation, which is pretty phenomenal. It's called
that
like
is cool.
they're
I
cool.
recall reading about that. Yeah.
Right. So his friend, Billy Tenzer, made a ton of money starting that company. And later he sold that to his partner. And I think the kids still run that company. So they always had this focus of kind of fortifying the exterior of the home. So Armstrong really did start as kind of a painting company. And today it's interesting. People in a certain demographic within the San Francisco Bay Area, they go, well, it's Armstrong Painting. That's funny though. 55 years later, our bread and butter is the foam roofing product that we do, but people still
Mm,
recognize us as a painting contractor, and we absolutely still do painting. The foam roofing, which came
yeah.
along in actually the late 70s for us, it came to us because we knew how to spray aggregate or thicker materials
Oh,
through these
yeah.
guns. And it was a
Yeah.
specialized material that needed to spray thicker material through these
Right.
guns. And so
Okay.
ultimately, that's when that product came on to the Armstrong lineup.
Nice. So we're in Southern California.
Well,
And
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, you are in the Bay Area and
Right.
do you just service the Bay Area, by the way, or?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Bay Area, there's people, we service basically Carmel all the way to Healdsburg. So it's the Bay Area and Greater Bay Area. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a large area, about 52-mile radius from our office right
Wow.
in the
Yeah,
center of the Bay Area.
that's pretty big. So I am in Southern California and maybe an hour outside of the Palm Springs, Desert Hot Springs area. And there are definitely a lot of residential flat roofs there. Do you work the flat roofs? So the foam is for flat roofs, correct?
Correct.
And do you do both commercial and residential or?
We will take whatever we can get, but
Right.
mostly residential. The way we say it is we apply industrial grade materials to residential homes.
Gotcha. So, and a lot of the homes that I'm speaking of in this area are built in like the 70s, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So is that the case up by you as well? Some 70s built places, or are there newer places like that now?
Well, the Bay Area is such a mix, but I'm sure you've been to San Francisco before. In the
Yeah.
neighborhoods, it's very funny in terms of marketing, in terms of kind of micro marketing, in terms of our digital marketing. We do this very specialized product, which is this spray applied foam roofing system that only goes on flat roofs. But when it comes to San Francisco, we can use generalized keywords because almost every single house in San Francisco has a flat roof. So
Really?
we really have to think about what city is it? What keywords are we allowed to use? Because if we use roofing as a general keyword within our
Right.
digital marketing, we're going to get people say, hey, I'd like a comp shingle roof. I'd like a tile roof. We don't do it.
I see.
But in San Francisco, if you have a roof, 98% chance you have a flat roof. So we don't
Wow.
need to get ultra specific with the language in San Francisco. So it's important to really know the area and
Yeah.
choose those keywords appropriately.
Wow, that's fantastic. That opens up your marketing a lot in the local area, at least.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the foam roofing that I'm familiar with sprays on at various depths, inches, right? And not only waterproofs the house, but also it's white, so it reflects the sun, so reducing heat gain, correct? Tell me more about the foam roofing.
Yeah, so the product is phenomenal. We have done other products in the past, but ultimately they gave way and we gave them up for this foam roofing product because nothing really beats it. Every time we get a call which every contractor is going to get a problem call here and there. They say, I have a leak. We ask, is it near a skylight? Because water doesn't go through. Its water molecules are too big to pass through the closed cell polyurethane.
I see.
We try not to say waterproof just because it's the legality of that, but water doesn't pass through it. So we make sure that the details, the areas of vulnerability are taken care of very carefully. But that's the product that we do. It goes on as a liquid. It rises very quickly. Contractually, we do an average of 1.5 inches. And the insulation in this product, the reflectivity is great. There are color options. You can even do a black foam roof.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because the insulation itself is in the thickness of the material.
I see.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because the R value is not even phenomenal. R value is about 7 per inch with the product that we use.
Okay.
But because it's monolithic, because it's completely seamless, that's really where the insulation comes from.
There's no gaps.
There's no gaps whatsoever. So we see, without no problem saying, up to 40% savings on heating and cooling costs, which talk about marketing. I mean, when we say that, that's a heck of a call to action. That's a big buzz.
That's a big buzz, which brings me to the solar world. So I was in the solar world for a little bit, and I didn't like that the solar installers, it was always solar first. So in my house, I'm in the same house 30 years. I'm embarrassed to say that almost. We're selling it right now, actually.
There you go.
But I don't know, about 15 years ago, the summer electric bill started hitting a couple $100 or so. And I was thinking about going solar, but instead I decided to do new HVAC. We had single pane windows. We did new windows. And that was 1,000,000 times better than going solar because I accomplished 2 things. I got rid of my electric bill, which went down to like $50 in the summer. But now it was like living in a different house. The climate comfort within my house, not to mention we put like sound protection windows in a certain key spots, including our master bedroom, was a big, gigantic difference. So do you recommend that? Do you work with solar companies at all to do this first before they go solar?
1,000,000%. I just love the fact that you brought that up. It's such an important part of the conversation about home improvement because we're talking about sales, we're talking about marketing. Talk about marketing with solar. I mean, so what they did is they created the hottest buzz in an industry where we're looking at homes built in the 1960s all throughout the Bay Area that are so energy inefficient.
Right.
And I had this idea of doing a commercial, and we can get into this too. Part of, I think today, kind of an interesting thing that we thought about during the kind of the climate of the world in people's minds, there's a bit of stagnation. I think people are a little bit petrified. I mean, economically, there's added fear, and we have to work within that. How do we work with that, right? But what we found is that when the sense of pride somebody has when they have a Tesla, the sense of pride that somebody has when they have solar is because that was marketing. They did such a phenomenal job. But the thing is, they come home, they ask their house to turn on, they tell it to turn down to 28, to certain degrees, the TV comes on, the blinds open. It's a smart house, and all the energy is escaping through the house because it's built in the 1960s.
It's crazy.
They skip such a fundamental step because the marketing got to them. And I get it too. I mean, you can show off a Tesla. The neighbors go, wow, look at that. That's a phenomenal thing. So we were even thinking when they do a roof that can save up to 40% on heating and cooling costs, it can make the inside so much more comfortable.
Right.
So if they want it, we'll give them a bronze placard they can put on their garage door just so their neighbors can see what they did. When you're working with these products, it's this idea. I've always said a roof is, unfortunately, we're selling a concept. They have to believe. They don't get to see it every day.
Right.
A flat roof especially.
Right. It's out of sight, out of mind. Yes.
So it's how do you overcome selling an idea rather than something that they can interact with every day? So it becomes this emotional thing to connect with. It becomes a logical thing, or you have to play in that world where they did a much better job with marketing on the things that you can touch and feel and play with and show off to your friends.
Right. Big, billion-dollar companies, too, you're up against there. So,
Elon Musk is the name in the game. So he was Solar City. He's Tesla. He doesn't mess around.
Right. Yeah, he's thinking big picture stuff, for sure.
Yeah, and solar's great. We started an LLC. We were looking into solar. And it's funny, we just never pulled the trigger on really getting it going because there are still so many homes that are just not up to date. They're not energy efficient. Let's get them up to speed first. Let's conserve before we generate.
Totally agree. If you're in a new house, a big house, and the electric bill's large, then you probably have a great envelope and solar makes sense for you. If you're in a house that's, I don't even know, 15, 20 years or older, that should be the last thing you do. It should be your HVAC, your insulation, your windows. The windows were the biggest thing for me, I think, because we had single pane windows originally. You literally could tell what the outside temperature was if you were standing within a foot or two of any window. But when we redid the windows, so window business must be pretty big for you, yes?
Well, no, it's a function of marketing. We, completely honest with you, part of our marketing for painting and windows was, it was unfortunately, we put so much focus on this foam roof because it was so phenomenal. Because when people call, we take care of all of our customers, but we don't get calls because the product's so phenomenal. So for years, we put a lot of focus on that. But part of what I've done in the last 4 years is I've brought the focus back a bit towards our other products, which are the painting and the windows. When people do anything with us, we want to make sure we do it to the highest quality standard. And but we need to up our game a little bit more and get back into people knowing that we offer the window and the painting products.
Mm-hmm. Well, like you said, solar is being marketed in a big way.
Right.
How about like working with solar contractors? Is that a viable path to go down?
Absolutely. So, and part of this product is really great because you can anticipate solar. So you can actually, the solar company's going to come out, measure it. They're going to say, well, our panels fit this stand. And we can actually embed those stands into the roof. You can cap them. You can see for a few years if, hey, conserving energy worked good enough. And I've heard from $10 million homes and they said, Tom, I wasted my money on solar. All I needed was your foam roof. Exactly. But nonetheless, so you can anticipate that solar 5 years down the road, uncap them, pop those solar panels on, and then turn them up. In terms of working with solar companies, part of my brother being that attorney, we do have some companies that we can nudge people towards, but we try to be very careful about making full recommendations to other companies outside of us, because we know this industry, who knows if they're having a bad day, they do something wrong and they say, well, Armstrong referred us. Right. We try to stay away from that.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. It's hard enough just to get your own crew on board, live in your culture, and you have no control over the other guy at all.
Yeah, and if anybody that is listening to this that's outside of California, they might go, what are they talking about? But keep in mind, anyone in California goes, oh, yeah, you got to be careful because California is just and this is San Francisco Bay Area too. So
litigious. We're a little litigious.
Little litigious is right. So we're working within the confines of California here.
Yeah. You don't want to, you put your neck on the line every time you recommend somebody. You got to be very, very careful. And I can see that the solar companies may not be very interested because they're going to sell a much smaller solar system after windows and a roof is done, insulation, so on and so forth. Those contractors should get into the roofing and window business if they're not going to create relationships, I would say.
Well, it's funny because a few of them have up here, and unfortunately, they're offering that kind of roll-out roofing that doesn't last as long as their solar will. And so, what's going to happen? Bad. It's just a bad combination. But they're basically, because a lot of solar companies won't take the job unless you have a roof that's within so many years. So it's interesting. But that's why the marketing is so important in reaching to that homeowner, that property owner, and helping them understand the right steps to take. And that's the great thing about being a homeowner is that you get to decide ultimately, but at least having that information. So we do our darndest to make sure they've got the full picture.
There you go. How about, is there a myth about any of those industries, painting, roofing, windows? That
they're probably all true. I mean, it's interesting that this thing, I've realized that I've picked up on a sense of things about how people interpret this idea of foam roof. I wish it wasn't called foam. Because when everybody's interaction with foam up into the age of when you're ready to buy a home, well, you think of styrofoam or you think of shampoo, lather. You don't think of strength. You don't think of durability.
Right.
So, and the foam is absolutely that. It's completely durable. It's rated 50 years. So it does all those things. So it's that working with that language. So you're being fair to what the product really is. Contracting, there's so many myths, but unfortunately, it's an industry that, as we all know, it half of it, if not more, is still the Wild West, while the other half is trying to do, their best to make sure it's completely legitimate, legal, and stands behind their work. So,
Yes.
to say any myth, like I said, it can be true depending on who the contractor is. Absolutely.
Right. Sure. Well, that's a big one right there. I see that. So foam, you're right. In most people's eyes, strength, durability is not the association. And yet I have seen those roofs out in the Palm Desert area and that are already, gosh, I don't even know, 50 years old.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're still solid.
Yeah. We see roofs that we did 30 plus years ago and we go, hey, they're still good. Call us maybe in another 15 and we'll see that we'll still be around.
Yeah.
But it's just like with painting. I mean, maybe the myths as they live in the mind of the homeowner. So paint, we find a lot of times the homeowner thinks it's really it's like a spruce up. But paint is really so much more. It's about protecting the exterior of the house.
Right. Sure.
So ultimately, in going cheap, what that can do in terms of multi-layer paint failure, there's all these implications. So really taking the time, if somebody's interested, of course, in hearing it and explaining the best way to do these things, it's so important to really be able to have the time to have those conversations.
Yeah, I agree. Paint is not paint. All paints are not created equal. All painters are not created equal.
That's exactly, yeah. It's the prep is such a huge part. They think, well, it's amazing in an industry where you can go out and get a contract in California. You paint my house for $2,500. Another guy comes out and it's $40,000. I mean, right. You can see gaps that big and people go, how in the world? I often say, well, it's not about, I wouldn't ask why we're so high. I'd ask why the heck are they so low? I can tell you right now, if they're that price, they're not licensed.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things you can tell right off the bat just from a number. There's no way they're holding workers' comp at that number.
Right.
And then the state license board will actually show it. So that's the first place I steer them towards if they're so interested. But at the same time, if people want to take that chance, that's their decision to make too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I just had the entire interior of my house painted. Mm-hmm. All Swiss coffee is the popular color.
It is I know that. Yeah, Swiss coffee.
It's about the ugliest damn color I think I've ever seen. Yeah, exactly. And that's what the realtors said. Get it white or light gray. And we have like brown tile. And we had nice earthen browns and sage greens, and we have beautiful colors everywhere. And now we have white Swiss coffee.
Right.
But I saw something on your site that I didn't see from, I don't know. I think I interviewed about 6 painters, and had 4 of them come in and quote me. And I took one of the guys in the middle who did a so-so job.
Right, yeah.
But on your side, I saw that you guys warranty your painting for, I don't remember how many years. So I was surprised. Nobody I encountered warranted their painting job at all. So tell me about your warranty a little bit.
Right. So typically, because of the pandemic, I'm atrophied my memory of our interior paint warranty because we've stayed a little bit outside of houses just to the homeowner in the Bay Area. They don't like anybody. But in the exterior, the stucco, we can give a warranty for a longer period of time. Wood, a little bit less. Metal, other materials less. But that's the thing. One, it's quite amazing. I've heard people say, well, yeah, there's a warranty. I said, what's the warranty? They say, what's on the paint can? The other thing is, nobody knows in the state of California and states, there's a minimum warranty that they're required by law if you're a licensed contractor. But part of that is if you do it right, and it's worked really well for us. If you prep it properly, use the right materials, the right specifications, that thing lasts a long time. So we were able to differentiate ourselves by offering warranties that nobody had heard of. And we didn't come out of the gates and say, hey, let's try to give 10 years on a stucco exterior. We gave 2 years on stucco 50 years ago. And as time grew and we got the system down right, we wanted to give back to the homeowner because we saw real world information that allowed us to offer more. And so we said, don't just give it to ourselves. Let's do better and better work, and let's offer longer and longer warranties. And that works. And that's such a huge part of the conversation. If we're sitting in the home with a potential customer and we can say, oh, you have other bids. That's great. Can I ask, what's the warranty? And they go, warranty? That's huge right there. So, but the other thing too is if they say, oh yeah, there was a 5-year, and I go, hey, that's great. How long have they been in business? They go 1 year. I go, that's ambitious. So all of those things, it's all important, and we're working within that.
Nice. Yeah, I wish I had, my team had found you. So my team searches for highly rated, companies throughout the country. for us to invite as guests. So thank you for coming on. And I see you're not pulling a warrant. So I wish I had seen you before I hired my painters. Is the point I was getting at, because I didn't know warranties and painting went together. I would have absolutely been hunting for somebody, not on the paint can, the painter warranting their product.
Right.
So it's good to see that yours is based on years of experience. Pull a number out of a hat and let's hope we could protect the house for that long.
Right. It wasn't a gamble. It was a guarantee. It was a real warranty from real world information.
Exactly. So obviously pretty good sized company you're running there. Let's talk about little business stuff. What's something you wish you knew now at the beginning when you started a few years back that now you wish you knew back then?
Yes,
sure, there's a million things.
A million. The one that stands out, and the kind of this, it's really grabbed my attention because it's this interesting idea, and I like working with it, and it helps me sleep at night. And it's really about, in terms of everyone that works at the company, their work product, it's got to be good, but in terms of giving them autonomy, in terms of giving the employees the ability to have ownership in what they do, it helps them. They now have, they give themselves permission to grow. Rather than coming in and micromanaging. I remember when I first came in, I wanted to change the logo and fire this person and fire that person because I maybe didn't like the way that but I realize now I just slowed down, and half of the value of an employee is their personality, if not more. So the first thing I look for if I have a new hire, I go, are you nice? Are you genuinely a good person? Hey, good. I can work with that. Come on in. Because if you're not, I've got this beautiful ecosystem now of people that are happy to be at the office. They like what they do. They know they have the freedom. They go, hey, Tom, they know now, they don't even have to ask me. They go, my kid's sick or they sprain their foot at school. I got to go pick them up. I go, why would you ask? Go pick up your kid.
Right.
We don't mix it up about what's more important. Your family, we're not going to pretend this is more important. This is where I hope it's more than just a place where you collect your paycheck.
Right.
And it becomes that over time when they realize it's a safe place. They have the freedom to do the things that they need to do. If they get their work done, they get their work done. But to lose some of the rigidity is something that
I like it.
Yeah. And I think over time, it'll be more and more of that. And the one downside of that is that people that are first learning about this concept, however, some people it's amazing. They want to be told what to do. They ask permission for every step.
Yep.
And they can even stop. They can stop moving in the right direction because they don't know they've never learned how to really move forward. So a little bit of nudging, but when everybody else has got it at the office and at the workplace, then they can kind of take the examples from them rather than one manager going, hey, this is how we do it. It's an energy. It's a vibe that goes through. I mean, that sounds a bit hippy dippy, but that's what it is.
It's very important. Yeah. So if the culture encourages people to ask questions, people to improve upon procedures. Hey, Tom, I've got a better way, I think, to do X, Y, Z. Well, here's my idea. What do you think? And if those are embraced, then you don't have those deer in the headlights kind of people where, oh my God, I'm afraid to move. Oh, Thomas is an ogre. He's going to jump on me if I do it wrong, and I'm scared to do anything.
Yeah, that's my proudest achievement is that I've never heard from the grapevine. I don't think they think I'm a micromanager or an ogre. It's just like they get it, which I'm very pleased with.
Yeah, that's great. Well, when your people like doing what they're doing and like the culture of the company, that's how they interact with the customer. Right. So happy customers start with happy employees. And if you don't have happy employees, you're never, ever going to have happy customers.
I've even given everybody, I say, hey, if you ever interface with a customer and they have an issue and you feel I'm going to leave it up to your judgment and you can solve that problem for X amount of dollars, that's up to you. You have a green light. If it's over that, just call me and you're going to get a yes, most likely, because we stand behind every single thing we do. Within being fair to us, not unreasonable people, but to give them that autonomy so they can even solve the problem. They don't need to ask permission to give out value or give out money or fix the problem because there's cost to it. Just let's fix it if it's fair.
Everybody's got the best interest of the client in mind.
Right.
Which really is the best interest of the company. They go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
Any large challenges or failures along the way, Thomas, that taught you some kind of lesson and that you'd like to share?
No, it's funny. It's been pretty smooth sailing. I mean, we're going through one of the biggest challenges of any businesses potentially could go through right now.
Well,
Home
good
improvement
point.
in '09. Of course, we've seen a lot being in business for 55 years, and I was
Right.
at the company and living through those things. Part of what we did was one of the biggest competitors near us in the Bay Area at that time, in '09 specifically.
Which
Things
is the
got
market starting to crash,
markets.
right?
It was really getting bad. It was getting grim.
Mhm.
People were losing everything in the stock market. I mean, people lose it was
Foreclosures like crazy. Yeah.
panic, real economic going on. And the biggest name in the game here in the San Francisco Bay Area said, well, let's double down on our marketing. Let's get through this. What I found when things are a little bit unsure, it's not about, we call it hibernation mode. And it's not about, it's about being really smart with our budgets, with our spends. Because, and if you think about it too, if you're on radio, if you're on TV, or if you're in, everyone's going to come to you because they're in the same place going, hey, can we have more of your money too? Well, actually, no. The hardest part about contracting at a certain point is being able to pick up the phone every day. I call it lifting weights. It's just lifting up that phone, making those calls. That's can be the hardest thing to talk to people. And it's not just interfacing with somebody that's upset or a customer, but it's also the people that keep trying to get your attention, time, and money. It's the people that are trying to sell you their products.
Right.
But when that time happens, it's not about going zero. It's about continuing to have a presence, because if people still need home improvement, no matter what the economic time is. And what we're finding now, kind of coming out of this thing, I picture it, we're this pirate ship coming out of a storm with our sails still intact. And everybody else was panicking and trying, and we held strong. We kind of held down. We hunkered down. We got really smart with how we were budgeting. We still had a presence. We still were spending, so people knew our name. We knew we were still healthy and we were still here. We could provide strength and security for people, but we didn't overspend. And that was and that has worked for us now, 2 major world events in a row.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Those are 2 very big events in my lifetime. I'm an old guy. Well, I'm glad you shared that, because that's really important. We're obviously a marketing company, and you can never stop marketing, right? So marketing is both branding and educating. I look at marketing as educating your consumer, right?
Right.
Helping them, because nobody comes out of the gate like, I'm ready to buy. I want a roof, right? Yeah. Unless they're leaking like crazy, maybe. But for the most part, they're going to go on a journey of discovery.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting. Never be scared to kill a marketing project if it's not working.
Right.
So to give you some context, I mean, we spend in line with any company. It's about 6% of our gross income, but that being said, we've spent $30 million over the years on a phone number. We have a very recognizable phone number. It's one of those vanity things. It was an interesting thing. We own every single area code in the Bay Area, that phone number.
Wow.
People don't use phones anymore. I mean, they click a button to make a call, and they always go to the website. So after all that time, I mean, that is how we're known. Our website has part of that number in it because that's such a big part of our brand. But understanding it's okay to move on from it because the world is changing. And so that phone number, it's just not as valuable anymore. And it worked for us there. It kept us afloat. Thank goodness for it. Moving on. But we still use it. We still keep it up. It costs nothing to do that. But we don't drill it like we used to. The other thing that's really interesting, and just in terms of marketing, because it's on my mind, and I had this talk with the sales team the other day, the way we speak to people today, homeowners or buyers, it has to be very particular about how I word this, but I believe that people are a bit petrified in the world right now. And that allows an opportunity to use a different way that we can talk to maybe help nudge them out of that paralysis.
I like it.
So, because we absolutely saw it. We saw less movement, less calls, more erratic. Usually Mondays, Tuesdays, we had the most calls, but we saw it was like a Wednesday and a Friday. Everything was different. Mm-hmm. But so in marketing, in the radio term years ago, it's breaking the frequency. That's like sometimes you see a commercial go, that was obnoxious. They know that. It was on purpose. They're waking you up. Because how can they get through to you in the middle of 6 other commercials and you're going to pay attention? So but then the hardest part is how can you have that message today and be respectful and be courteous nonetheless still? So it's not about shaking them aggressively, but it's about knowing that maybe the frequency in terms of how we talk, some of the words that we use, how has that changed so we can help break them free and get them to move?
I like it. Man, I really like your So what is that phone number, by the way?
Phone number, it's 777-1234, toll free, 37s, and a 1234. So that was the tag that we've used. We still do it on our radio spots. And it's funny, a certain demographic within the Bay Area, which is the best, customer for us, they repeat that. 100% of those people, we come to their door and they go, 37s on a 123, because they know it.
Nice.
But then there's a certain demo now that they go, what? I've never heard that.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
well, but what you pinpointed, and I think I was on your site and I saw, what was it, like Jim Plunkett? I saw some old sports stars, and I remember Plunkett going 1, 2, 3, 4, using your number or something. Yeah. And for those youngsters out there, Jim Plunkett was a former Raider, Super Bowl champion, got gray hair like I do now, probably. I like how you said, Thomas, to let go of your ego. Man, that is such a big thing and such a difficult thing for so many business owners, not just contractors. So you had this phone number, you had this marketing thing that was working fantastically, and then the world changed. And instead of holding on to it and trying to drive it harder, you pivoted with the world. And that's so important. Like you said earlier, some companies, their websites are terrible or they're non-existent or whatever. We live in a digital world, man. If you're going to market your company today, you best see what the world is doing, not what you think the world should be doing.
Right. So to get with the times to the degree, if it's working for some people, it's working for some people. Part of that thing in terms of getting the ego out of the way as well, it's that there's going to be people that can't do it. But and it's quite the challenge to try to come to terms with letting that go. Being a professional touring musician also for so many years, one of the biggest things I would tell other bands when they'd say, hey, do you have any advice for us? I'd say, yeah, quit. And part of it was a bit of a diabolical trick. It was, if they won't hear that, if they can't hear that, then they've got what it takes. So it was letting them know. Actually, I don't know if you've ever heard this story. There was a famous marketing guy. Unfortunately, he died, I think, in his 40s, really young, of cancer. Really famous guy. I might be getting it wrong. I think his name was Troy, but kind of he was an up and coming. He was going to be a Zig Ziglar kind of guy, right? So he had this very interesting thing. He put up an ad in all the cheapest part of all the big city newspapers around the entire United States. And because he was a recruiter for sales, that's a really hard thing, right?
Yes.
But this is a marketing and a sales story. And he would put up this little ad that says, are you a salesperson? Got what it takes? Give this phone number a call. So they'd schedule a time for the call and he would field these phone calls. And people on the other end would say, hey, I'm Bob. I'm a salesperson. I'm the number one closer in my company. Blah, blah, blah. I get deals done. And they'd, about 15, 20 seconds in the call, say, hey, I hear you. I appreciate your time. They'd hang up the phone on the person. And but it was a test. And if that person called back and they'd say, hey, you just hung up on the number one close in Milwaukee. They go, now we've got you. So it's putting up, and that's what it really takes, telling the bands, hey, quit.
Right.
Or, hey, you don't got what it takes. I know it. It's about sales, marketing. The job doesn't start when you meet them. The job starts when they say, oh, I'm not really interested. Well, how can you help them become interested? And today, and I think it is important, how can you do it in a courteous, conscious, thoughtful way? Because ultimately, you've got to be delivering a good product too. Because if you're delivering a bad product and then you move them towards a yes, well, that's a disservice. Yeah. So if you're moving them towards something that can fortify, insulate, save them money, protect them, and it has a real warranty that's going to mean something, well, then you're moving them to a good place and you can feel better about that. So that's all part of the equation. It's really important.
I like that. So if you're not passionate enough, like if a stranger even rejected you or told you to quit, and that was enough to make you quit, then you don't have the passion. You should quit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. How about that? So do you have any advice for somebody just starting a home service company in the middle of the pandemic?
Well, I mean, just one day at a time. I mean, find help, because ultimately the customer is going to suffer should there be an issue or should there be something that they want, if you're going to handle the installation, the marketing, and the administration all yourself.
Good.
So find a good person to work with you and treat them right. Pay them right. Because that person's going to be your best friend for life. Yeah. They're going to help you succeed. So don't be scared to pay them, and give them the things that they need so that they can be happy in what they do. And you guys can then both make a ton of money together. And then
like that.
As time moves on, find the third person and find the fourth and find the fifth. Because it's the team, getting a team working together in unison, that's how you grow if that's the goal. If you're just looking to make some cash in the pocket, different story. I don't know that business. But if you're looking to have a real home improvement company that's doing good by everybody, and that's the way to go about it.
Yeah, I agree completely. You can't do it all. In fact, you should eventually not be doing your trade. You should be managing your business, right? You should not be the tradesperson out there doing the work.
And I get it. I have a hard time. If you want it done right, do it yourself. So if there's a thing, I cut the radio spots. But at the same time, I need to work with people creatively. When there's decisions, our COO, he's a holdover, but he's like, my best friend now, and he's in his 70s. I'm in my 40s, and we talk nonstop just because we're running the business together. We work so well together, and I wouldn't trade that for anything.
So relationship, hire your weaknesses and take care of them so they stick around.
Yeah,
maybe make them a partner in the later years, potentially. Who knows?
Make sure that they're happy and that they're not upset at the end of the day. Make sure that they're happy, and it's working. Yeah, but he has an accounting background. I took one accounting class and realized that is the opposite of music. That is the opposite of, accounting is the worst. And so he does it really well, and it's great, and that's his world, and he knows that I do the marketing really well. So it's a heck of a team.
And that's real important right there, what you just said. Most of us hate accounting and math. and most contractors do not price themselves right and all that other stuff. So,
that's right.
Man, you have got to go find a numbers person, if it's just your CPA or bookkeeper or whatever, but get a CFO, learn the numbers. The numbers drive your business, man. So I don't care how. In fact, I had a guy on the show from House Call Pro, and he said something really interesting. His name is escaping me right now. I'm sorry. But he said, my wife, she doesn't know how great you are at your trade, man. She knows that when she turns it on, it works. When she turns it off, it doesn't. And that's all that's required. Everything else, you need to be nice. You need to be courteous. You need to be clean. You need to clean up after yourself. All these other parts of the job are way more important than of course, your skill at the trade is extremely important, but nobody's really going to see that probably for the most part. They just know if it works or not.
If you've done something right, most people won't know you've done anything at all. And so you've just mentioned a point that's probably so important. If there are people that are just starting in the home improvement thing, it's the price. You mentioned it, the pricing. What we found is that you can make a ton of money in the first year. And that's about how long most new contractors last. I think the statistic, it's 1 year or something. It's 90%. There's a number where you go, oh, that's the right number. And you're making a ton of money in the first year. And then you come up on your insurance and everything for the next year, and you realize that you weren't charging enough. But you better be offering a product that is worth the money to charge for. So those numbers, I would search for terms like anchor pricing. I would search for terms like retail value. I explain to them why that's wrong, but people go, well, Armstrong's really expensive. I go, no. We're completely legitimate. Our price isn't too high, too low. It's the exact right price. We're the standard. So I can tell you what they're doing based from our price because we spent so much time figuring out the right pricing. And then if people are just open to that idea, which they should be, if you can explain it to them right, let me not tell you again why we're too high. It's that let me show you why they're too low. So
we'll be around to service you later.
And then the other thing, what I suspected would happen this year is that business, in terms of volume contractors, not contractors that are doing 20 jobs a year, those guys are perfectly fine, or bathrooms. But guys that are doing 500 plus jobs a year, the volume guys, I blanked on whatever. Anyway.
Pricing.
Anyway.
That's okay. I do it all the time. There's a great book I read a while back last year, and I actually started this practice, Profit First for Contractors. Sean Van Dyke, I believe. And I didn't use the exact formula, but I got 4 bank accounts. The money comes into the top line immediately or within a week. Percentage goes out to my tax account, another bank account, my profit account, my salary account, and the business gets run on all the rest of it. And that was life-changing for me. I stopped worrying about that the tax is going to be there each quarter to pay, and at the end of the year after I file. And it made me look at my pricing and stuff too. So you're right. I'm sorry.
No, then it just reminded me of the point I was making. It's that even through this pandemic, I was looking for some of our competitors. The first thing that they would not pay on was their workers' comp.
Oh,
So what happens after that first year, you go, oh, I made a ton of money. And then now you've got these big insurance bills that
right.
you need to have. If you want to be a legitimate guy, you've got to pay I'm sorry, it's just how it works. You
Right.
protect your company, protect your guys, protect the homeowner, be legitimate. But those are the things they start to let go.
Exactly.
And there's no way of catching up. You've got to end your license number, start a new license number, have a friend open it for you. You're the if I come up to you in a home, you're not overselling my guys. There's not a million years. You guys are done. And then word will spread. I mean, just can't compete.
Yeah, I agree. And whatever, 80, 90% of contractors, like you say, going out of business in the first year, that means 80 and 90% of them are priced too low. So that's, dear customer, that's what you're facing. And they wonn't be here, more than likely, to service your warranty and et cetera down the road. So.
Yeah. It's always great when I come into a home and when I used to go do, and it's, they gave me a 20-year warranty. I go, let's take a look. Oh, they've been in business for 6 months. I go, yeah, they can give you whatever they want, man. They're just making stuff up.
Lifetime. Why not? Let's go in.
The lifetime is the best. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we've gone a little long. I'm sorry there, Thomas. A great interview. Appreciate it. Great feedback and great input for listeners out there. Any resources, books, anything you recommend out there for business owners?
It was actually this very kind of philosophical, I thought, approach to it. The book is called This is Marketing. The guy's a marketing guru. I'm blanking on his name, but nonetheless, the book is called This is Marketing. It was released a couple of years ago. Found it to be extremely interesting. He talks about these ideas in more of a gestalt rather than, the mechanics. And it just helps you apply these principles truly for yourself rather than say, well, I'm just going to follow step 1, 2, 3. You can really get the concept. So
nice.
This is Marketing. I thought it was a great book.
I will check that out. Yeah, you're always marketing. No matter what business you're in, you're first and foremost in the marketing business.
Always.
And people need to learn that, especially tradespeople who take great pride, as they should, in the work that they do. But again, as we said, customers probably, unless you're a carpenter or some kind of finish work, they're probably not going to see your work and judge it based on that. It's all those other ancillary things, how you treated them, how did you get customer service, did you notify them, were you on time, were you clean, were you friendly, all that other stuff. So if you were in my shoes, Thomas, what question did I not ask that I should have? Anything?
Oh, well, as you could tell, I'll go on a rant anyway. So I think I captured it. Go. That's the thing. If you really and truly enjoy it, and hopefully you can find everybody, they can find in themselves to make this thing fun. For Christ, let's go enjoy ourselves too while we do this.
I agree.
So,
amen to that.
No, just having any conversation, I could talk about this stuff for 12 hours straight. So I think that was a good chunk of it. And I think all the questions were great.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So how do our listeners find and connect with Armstrong and yourself, Thomas? Where do they find you online?
Our website, armstrong1234.com. If you want to reach out, I guess for anybody listening, I don't imagine it's going to be for a new roof painting or windows, but if you'd like to chat, if you want to do, I always like talking about this stuff. So people can reach out and they can leave a message for me with the call center at my company. And I'm happy to talk to anybody.
Oh, that's real nice. I appreciate that invite. Very nice. All right, we'll wrap it up. Thomas, a million thanks for coming on the show, sharing your wisdom and skills and experience with everybody. You're really good for the audience. Listeners, we hope you got great value out of that. Thanks for sharing your time with us today. If you like what you heard, please rate, review, subscribe to our podcast so you get notified of future episodes. Feel free to share this episode on your social channels. Good luck out there and create a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Battle Plan Marketing Podcast. To power up your home service business, for show notes, visit battleplanmarketing.com/podcast. If you enjoyed our show, please share it on social. Until next time.